What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Retail Shenanigans. Today, I am interviewing another longtime friend of mine, David Arnold. He still lives up in York, Pennsylvania, where I am originally from. From what I understand, he's got 6 to 8 years of retail experience and some food service too, and that is just mind-boggling. I mean, I have a lot of retail experience as well, but definitely seeing fellow people and friends that have tons of it, it definitely drives you a little crazy sometimes, and it's awesome to hear the stories everybody has to tell. So without any further ado, David, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm good. Doing my best to deal with the situation every day as new things arise and new protocols. Um, I mean, with me working retail, I'm an essential business, so I'm there, most days more than not. And, every other day it's like this policy change, you got to do this different or that different. Excuse me. I mean, it's to the point where we're wearing gloves, even though I try not to wear the gloves so much because I know gloves just kind of transmit germs everywhere. But I'm wearing a face mask, washing my hands all the time, and they even just sent us face shields to wear. So it's crazy out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, my mom is currently working at the Rudders behind my place, and they just recently said, "Hey, yeah, you need to start wearing masks." They brought in the shield, actual that goes over the register areas in the deli area, and
hmm
I'm just like, you guys could have done that a little bit sooner. It's kind of a little late now, you know?
Oh yeah, we have those too. We've had them, I'd say, for about maybe 2, 3 weeks tops. But yeah, we've got the plexiglass shields over the register areas. We took out chili and cheese. Like we still have our food that we serve, but now instead of the self-serve hot dogs or grill items, we've got to give it to everybody. They got rid of the chili and cheese. They got rid of the self-serve condiments. So all we have now are like packets and whatnot. Whereas opposed to
Yeah.
before, we had like relish and onions and peppers and things of that nature. I mean, hell, we can't even make sweet tea anymore. And down in the south, that's like down
Oh
here,
man.
that's a
Oh.
travesty to some people. I had a guy cuss me out, say he's like, "Do you not know you're in the south and you're telling me you can't make me some sweet tea?" And I said, "Sir, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to."
God damn the sweet tea, not the sweet tea.
I
God damn it.
I know it's like you come after someone in the south sweet tea, and it's like you're committing a hate crime.
Hey, when it comes to tea, my mom and I know how to make good tea, and you've had that tea before.
Oh yeah,
It's
most
almost
definitely.
as good as Southern Brew sweet tea, but I'm sorry. I got a glass right here.
Jackass.
Damn fucking tea. Hey, I'm sorry. We still got it up here.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Okay, so I think that'll be a good way to get into the beginning of our podcast here. So, as you know, this is more of just like an interview type deal where, you
Mhm.
know, I ask a couple of questions that, I just want to get some information from the people who come on the show and just give them an opportunity to share their experiences and get their, retail stories out there to the public so people can hear them. You know what I mean?
Yep, I totally understand, especially what's going on in this crazy time. All the flack that retail people are getting is ridiculous.
Okay, so first question I have for you is how long have you exactly worked in retail or like food service for like public things of that nature? I know a long time ago. I know you worked at like a what was it? I don't want to say it was like a
It
CC's
was
or an Infinitos or something like
it,
that.
it, wa- it was Infinito's
Okay,
pizza pasta salad buffet.
okay, but yeah, anything like that, any other type of retail things of that dealing with the public. How long have you been doing that, or have you done that?
Well, actually, Infinito's was the only retail job I did, but I started in May of 2008 and went all the way to August of 2016 for a total of 8 years and 3 months across three and a half different stores.
Jeez, that's a long time to be with one company.
Yep, and I half regret it.
Really?
Yeah, I half regret it just because of a lot of the flat that I went through. Went before the Delco Plaza store closed down. I want to say in like 2013, 2014-ish, in there, that area.
Okay.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I dealt with a lot of bull crap. And then that store closed down right before the holidays, moved up to the Hanover store, was there for a few months, left on a hiatus sabbatical type deal to get my license, get myself squared away. And then I went over to the Queen Street store, worked there for a while. Then I helped to open up the store on George Street and 30 up here. And then I got hired at the place I'm currently working at right now.
Okay, so a combined total of 8 years. What it sounds like three different locations, correct?
Yep, and I helped open one of the stores as well. So, like I said, 3.5.
Right. Okay. No, I totally understand that. So if you don't mind me asking, what positions did you work there? I know they had like their pizza buffet and whatnot, but like, what all did you do there?
Short and simple, everything minus manager work.
Okay.
I could do register. I could do cut stock, which was basically stocking the pizza buffet,
Hmm.
cutting the pizzas. I did pizza line. I did the dining room. Um, did prep work. I did dishes. I made dough. I even trained people for fuck's sake. So I did pretty much everything minus managerial work.
Okay, so that leads me to two follow-up questions. My first of which, if you don't mind me asking, or if you don't mind sharing that information, how much did you start with, and were your raises good by the time you left the company? Were you making decently more for being there for 8 years, or, if you don't feel comfortable, that's totally okay. It's
Oh,
just,
I have no problem talking on that.
okay,
I started when the minimum wage was originally $6.15 an hour before they bumped it up to what it is currently now, still $7.25 an hour.
Jesus
But
fuck.
yeah, I know. It went up in two increments. It went up a dollar to $7.15, and then it went up 10 more cents to $7.25 an hour.
Okay,
So, and that was within, I want to say, about a year that after I started working there, I was making about $7.25.
okay,
Those were mandatory raises I had to get.
correct.
By the time that I left, I was only making $8.75 an hour.
You're fucking kidding me.
Nope.
For
Nope.
8 years,
Yep.
not a. Okay, so 725 to what
At a
was it?
dollar
Eight
fifty,
875. So $1.50
$1.50
in
in
eight
8 years.
years.
Yep.
How the fuck do they justify that? Where do companies get off doing that?
The funny thing is, it's all based upon who you have as your manager. If your manager likes you, my manager loved me, but the
Okay.
thing is, he couldn't justify giving a raise to hit one of his best employees all the time because they're going to upper management. This has actually came from upper management a few times. Is that we can't afford to give every good worker a raise.
Well, then you can't afford to have workers then.
I know. The funny thing is, when I went up to Hanover after my store closed, the new boss, who I wasn't a fan of, asked me, how much are you making an hour? And I told him. Found out from my mother, who was the assistant manager up there, her exact words after I walked away that came out of his mouth were, that's not right. I then saw a raise after that on my next, I want to say the next two paychecks, I saw a raise. So it's bad that, it takes another manager to be looking at your pay and going, what the literal fuck?
Yeah, most definitely.
It wasn't until I was getting ready to actually leave, I want to say about maybe 8 months before I left, the last manager that I worked with at the Queen Street store gave me two 25-cent raises. So,
That's crazy.
yeah, because he was like, you know what, you work your ass off, you do what you got to do, especially after everything that has happened in here. Uh-uh. So, that's how much I
Oh
made.
god, that's absolutely mind-boggling. I don't,
Yep.
and you even drove up to Hanover, which from I know
Well,
where you live, and even from like York to Hanover, Hanover's like a half an hour, 45-minute drive.
it's about a 45 to 50-minute drive. And at that time, my mom was driving me up there because she was the assistant up there. So it worked. I didn't have my license yet. It wasn't until after I left working at Hanover that I got my license.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that was fun. But ugh,
So let's look at it. Let's look at it this way. Hold on. Let me do something here quick. Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
no worries, man.
times 40. So you were bringing home pre-tax 350 a week, and you were only making a little over 18 grand a year.
And mind you, we got paid bi-weekly,
Dude, that is bullshit.
so it means
That
that even more taxes came out.
Oh my god, yeah. Because I remember, again,
I
not
was
to.
lucky if I was bringing home a 600, maybe not even a 600, maybe about a $500 paycheck if I was lucky.
Oh my god, that's terrible. I can remember, not to interject too much of my life into it, but I remember
No, you're fine.
when and I do apologize again. My kids are going crazy tonight for
Nah,
some
don't worry
reason.
about it, man. I understand.
And everybody on YouTube, I do apologize. I live in a little townhome, so where my computer room is set up, I don't have soundproofing, so every little noise comes through. Um, so when I worked at Turkey Hill, I had worked there for 5 years, and there were times that I did enjoy my job and I did like it, but I started at the company at 7:25, and 5 years later, by the time I had put my notice in because they refused to promote me because they wanted to keep paying me so low to do all the job I was doing, I was making 875 by the time I quit. So not quite 8 years, what you were saying, but I can
Still,
yeah, that is ridiculous.
yeah, that makes no sense. And the funny thing is, when I actually put my 2 weeks notice to the manager who I was working for at the time, his exact words were, "So I just got to ask, why are you planning on? Why do you want to leave so much?" And I looked at him straight in the eye and I went, "Well, one, just everything around here, the way things are right now, I just need to get out. 8 years, as well as I can't move out and be self-sufficient on $8.75 an hour." And he just looked at me and went, "Yeah, I understand that actually." I'm like, yeah, yeah. I don't know why anyone would think of asking, why do you want to quit and move on to a better paying job?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Uh, but uh, it just mind boggles me. And the funny thing is, I found out that some people who were working, who had less time than me were making more money than me at that time. And I was like, how?
Yeah, that's BS when a company does get somebody who does work well and they work hard, and then they go and they
Uh,
take them and they take advantage of them and they burn you out. Because that's what happened to me when I worked at Turkey Hill. I got burnt out because not only was I
yep.
working 40 hours at my store, but then there were other stores that were constantly calling me for help or to ask me questions or to come work on my day off or, oh, I just got done
Hmm.
working a 12-hour shift at this store. Oh, well, I really need you to come work a couple hours over here because I need help.
Oh yeah,
And then
yeah.
look
That
at you
was
crazy when
same
you would
thing.
say no or oh I need some time off. Oh well I thought you wanted to be a manager. Blah blah blah. Like really, really, bitch.
Yeah, This is exactly the stuff that I've dealt with. Where there'd be times where, someone will call off and they'd call me and say, "Hey, are you able to come in?" I say, "Sure, no problem." I'd go in. Someone will call off while I'm there. I'll say, "Hey, if you need me to stay an extra, 30 to 45, maybe in an hour, I can do that for you, just to help out so you guys can find someone." But I'm
Right,
not going to work a double shift and then potentially get screwed because the company didn't like employees going over 40 hours.
right.
The one time I was pushing 40 hours, my boss looked at me and said, "Hey, David, I need you to work." And then he looked, I was like, "Sure, no problem. I'll do it. I have no issue with that." And he looked at me and went, "Oh, shit." I'm like, "What?" "You're at 36 hours. This will push you over 40 hours. I can't have you work." I'm like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Yeah, I hate that. Especially when it's like on the opposite end, not to cut you off or anything, but like on the
No,
opposite
you're
end of
good.
that, where I'm the store manager now, it's rough when you get people who call off or whatever, and you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
and you want to get it to like to remedy the situation and fix it, but absolutely no overtime, and then you get employees who want to work, who want more hours, but then it's just oh
Yeah.
well you can't give them more hours because it'll give them overtime.
Yeah. And the thing that's bad, because my one manager dealt with it enough, is that if you can't get anyone to fill in, it falls on the manager to fill in that spot, even if they don't want to, and get their salary. They don't
Oh,
get
oh
paid
yeah.
extra for stuff like that. So
Nope.
my one boss would work almost 70 hours a week.
Yep.
He didn't have to.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, and and not to get myself started on the whole people calling off. It always seemed to be the same people who are always saying they want more hours, and then they call off and giving those hours away, or they just give them away in general. And I'm sitting here going like, why? Why do you ask for hours, then call off? Or
Oh
just
yeah.
give your hours away? It makes no sense.
Oh, trust me. I totally understand that because it's the people that are like, oh, well, I got to pay my bills. I got to do this. I'm the only one working in my house. But yet, every chance they're like, oh, I have the
Uh-huh.
sniffles. I'm going to call off for 2 days.
Hey, and it makes it a lot worse. And now this is not me going off on, people who are, employees who are in high school. But if you're sick, okay, you're too sick to go to school and you're too sick to go to work. The moment you call off school, the moment your place of work opens, you should be calling your boss saying, hey, I cannot come in, I'm sick, instead of waiting 30 minutes before your shift to call off.
Oh my God,
I
yeah,
don't
I
know
hate
how many
that.
times that has happened where I'm at home hanging out with some of my friends, especially, I'm a nerd, I play D&D, and I'm with my friends at my kitchen table getting ready to start, and I get a phone call saying, hey, David, we know you just got off work, but can you come back in? Someone called off. I'm like, I literally have my friends here. I
Hmm.
can't.
Oh yeah, and then you tell them no, and they're like, "Well, I really need you, and I'm really going to be in a bad situation if you don't
Yeah,
come help me." Well,
yeah,
sorry. Sometimes you got to say no. And as the manager, I don't have that option. But if I can get
yeah.
someone to come in and they want to work, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
awesome. But if not, hey, I got to
Yep.
go in.
Hey, one thing is, you should know this well enough that your boss, if they're that kind of boss where they only care if they have a person filling a spot, is if they forget all the times that you stayed late, came in early, came in on your day off, or did all these extra things that they wanted to. But the moment you say no, that'll be the moment they always remember, and they'll use that to spite you later down the line.
Oh, most
And I
definitely.
learned that. I learned that all too well. Ugh.
Nope,
Still
I
there, dude?
definitely. Oh yeah, I'm here, 100%. Um, okay, awesome. So that kind of you answered a couple of my questions there on that rant. No, that's perfect, dude. I appreciate that so much. Um,
Hey, I'm,
so
I'm helping.
so if I can ask you another question, it would if you could dig deep and if you could think what is your absolute top of the line best memory of working retail, like the best thing that ever happened. Doesn't mean it has to be something monumental or and if it is awesome, but if it was something as little as a customer went out of their way to show that you were a great worker, it could be that as well. So what would be your absolute best memory of working retail?
Well, to be honest, I do have a lot of good memories of during my times when I was still working there. Um, I could probably pick out three. Uh, Two of them are relatively short. Uh, One of them was when I was bussing in the dining room and doing dishes at the same time. Basically, I was going back and forth. I was the only person who was doing it. The person who was on register was having issues getting out because we were busy at the time. So I was jumping back and forth, spending about, 10, 15 minutes out in the dining rooms, 10, 15 minutes in the back. And as things started dying off out in the dining room, we hear a knock on the back door that comes into the back kitchen area. And my boss goes to the door, and then I hear my name, and I'm like, "What's going on? What's going on? Did I do something wrong?" The customer who was at the door handed me a $20 bill and said, "This is from all of us at our table because how much you were busting your ass out here, you know, going back and forth and saw that I was, coming back, out, bringing out plates, bringing out silver, bringing out cups and everything, and just helping out where I can on the front, if I can, helping out cutting pizzas or whatever if someone needs
Yeah,
it,
most
etc.
definitely.
There, so they saw me busting my ass, and I was like, "This is for you," and I was like, "Thank you, I'm okay with this."
Hell yeah.
And I mean, another instance was, and I've had this happen a few times in my time, which made me go, "Oh my god!" And my boss got really ticked off, not at me, but at some of the customers, for the nerve of trying to recruit me to come work for them. Literally, one of them came up to me. He's like, "You know something? If you ever want to get out of this line of work, come find me at such and such store, and I'll put you to work. And I would be glad to have an employee like you." And I'm like, "Huh, okay." And my boss is like, "No, no, 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 get your ass back here. You ain't leaving. You're mine. Don't get back here."
Trying to get poached.
Yeah, I know, but The penultimate one that I would say, even though it's gonna sound bad in the beginning, is we were having a very, very busy day. It was busy nonstop. It was, I want to say, maybe June, maybe May, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly the time frame, but I know that it was starting to get warmer out and everything. And we were just getting slammed. We were slammed from the moment we opened the doors to, I want to say, about 7 p.m. that night.
Okay.
And I was working a long day because a person called off. So I said, hey, yeah, I'll stay later and work for you, no problem, because someone called off. Plus, we just kept being busy the entire day. So it was ridiculous. So I was like, I'll stay as long as you need me to, no problem. So I was going up to the front of the line, mind you. I was helping out at register. I was helping out at cut stock. I was helping out at pizza line. I was going out in the dining room. I was helping out at dishes. I was basically doing every single job except for prep and making dough. So I was going up to bring cups up to the front, and some idiot did not pay attention to what they were doing after they brought up the original first round of cups. So I was bringing them up, and then I saw, hey, yeah, there was a spill out in the dining room. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'll go out and see how bad it is, and then I'll go and grab them up. So I pushed the cups off to the side, making sure that they were out of the way, and I went up in front of the one cut table to go make a left and go out around the register to where the spill was. The moment I made a turn to get around the cut table, there was a nice puddle of water where one of the cups were, because they weren't completely dry. I slipped and I actually twisted my back very badly. When that happened, a whole bunch of people came back asking if I was okay and everything. But after that, I don't know why, even though I was in so much pain, I did not let that stop me. And oh my Lord, people noticed just how hard I was pushing myself just to keep it all together and everything. I was getting compliments from my manager. I was getting compliments from my fellow employees. I was getting compliments from customers who actually saw me go down and hurt myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, even though you're hurt, you're busting your ass. You're one hell of a worker. It's like, yeah, I got to do what I got to do. I mean, I had a smile on my face. I was pushing back the pain. I mean, when I was going into the back, I was going, holy fucking shit, this hurts. But I did these numbers. I just kind of pulled my back straight up, went, walked out the door, and just got a big smile on my face. I'm like, this hurts, but I'm going to do it. And
Most
I
definitely.
kept working through it. And by the time I got off at 8 o'clock, I sat down. My manager sat down with me and went, David, thank you for everything you did for me today. You came in, you worked your ass off the entire time. And even though you hurt yourself, thank you. I appreciate it. I wish I had 10 workers like you at any given time. I wish I had 10 workers like you at any given time. And I appreciated that. And that made me smile because, one, I made bank that day. And two, I got more praise than anything, and that shows that my boss and that my fellow employees appreciate it.
Yeah.
Though later down the line, that kind of started fading when they stopped giving a shit. But that was beside the point.
Right. No, I understand, but it's definitely awesome that, you got that recognition not only from your coworkers, but from your boss and the customers that saw you not only go down and
Mm-hmm.
crack your ass and, you know, probably looked pretty
Yeah.
fucking hilarious falling too. I can imagine your bony ass like, ah!
No, I didn't go. I literally just went and went. Tried to stop myself from going down onto the floor to the
Mhm.
point where I had one arm on the one counter and one arm on the cut table that, mind you, is not fastened down. It's able to be
Right.
moved. And when I went down, my upper half stayed put. My lower half twisted.
Gotcha. I
So
gotcha.
I went, oh, son of a, and I went down. And customers came around the corner going, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, I'm fine, totally. Oh, shit.
Just peachy.
Oh, yeah, it's just fine for a guy who, pretty much fell on his ass and twisted his back.
Right.
Oh, I got Bengay put on my back that night, and oh my God, it was the industrial Bengay.
Right.
The stuff that if you forget to wear gloves and you wipe your ass, you're going to be in pain for a while. Yeah, my dad had that story to tell me about the one time a buddy of his at work forgot to put on a glove and wipe his ass.
Oh, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so on the topic of that, that brings me to next question, which is what would be your worst memory of retail? Something that you know, either made you want to walk out that day, or just something that was just so terrible that just made you like that it's always gonna, I don't want to use the word haunt you, but just something that's always gonna make you have a bad taste in your mouth about retail?
Uh, well, one thing I'll say before I get to that,
Okay.
when it comes to retail, everyone always has their horror stories.
Oh, most
When it
definitely.
comes to food retail, and I already had an argument with someone about this, I said that food retail is a lot worse than just regular retail. For the main reason is regular retail, people come in, they get their shit, and they leave. It's like Walter saying, "Welcome to Walmart, get your shit and get out."
Yep.
In food retail, you have people who come in, give you a hard time at the register, give you a hard time at the buffet, sit down, eat their food, sit for about an hour or two, give you a hard time when they leave the door, and in that whole span, you're dealing with those people for a good 2 hours or more. So you have to put up with more of that, especially if they keep coming up to the buffet,
Right.
keep asking for things, which, mind you, as long as they're polite about it, I usually don't give two shits. But it's when those people who are rude the entire time, it just drives me nuts.
Oh, most
Especially,
definitely.
they do takeout as well, so it's even more interesting. So, but I have another three stories, but two of them are relatively short. The first one is definitely short.
Go
We
ahead.
were having a very, very, very busy day.
Okay.
I mean, we had a packed dining room, and I had a line out the door. The next customer at the register came up and said, "Hey, yeah, I'd like to get a couple pizzas to go." I was like, "Okay, well, how many are you going to get?" He's like, "I'm going to get three." I was like, "Okay, no problem." So I printed out, got some printout paper, grabbed a pen. I was like, "What can I get for you?" The guy literally said, "What pizzas do you all have?" And I was like, "Well, we have a sign over here if you'd like to take a minute to, see what you want." So he moved over just a little bit so he could look at the sign while still standing in front of the register,
Right.
and he legit took about 5 minutes to decide what he wanted, and then another 5 minutes to decide if that's what he really wanted. So that's 10 minutes right there. So I'm sitting there waiting, and I have a line of like 15, 20 people coming up. I was like, "Well, sir, if you would like, I could, sit this off to the side and allow you time to figure out what you would like. I do have a line of people here if you wouldn't have any issue with me taking care of them first." And he legit looked at me and said, "No, I was here first. I want to get my order taken care of. They can wait." And I went, "Are
Jesus.
you?" So I had to say, "Hey, can I get someone up here to do the register while I take care of what this guy wants and help on the cut stock?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." After that guy got his order taken care of and everything, one of the customers who's waiting in line who heard him say that say, "You know what? You did the right thing, except that he was being an asshole, and I do apologize for him. He was in the wrong right there." And I
Oh,
went,
most definitely.
I mean, sadly, I'm in the business where the customer is always right,
Oh
even
yeah.
though they're dumbasses about it.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And the second one, when you tell your employee that you need them to do something, you're not a asshole about it, if I'm correct. You usually want to go, "Hey, when you get a chance to, I need you to do this for me,"
Oh,
stuff
most
like that, at
definitely.
least being polite. My one boss that I worked for up in Hanover
Okay.
did not have that regard.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. He basically did not ask you to do something or did not say, "Hey, when you get a chance, can you do this?" He says, "Do that now. I need you over here, here. I need you here. I need you here." And he wasn't polite about it. Mind you, it was always the little things.
Right.
So one day, we were pretty much dead slow. We had one table in there. I had all of my midday cleaning stuff and stocking all taken care of on the pizza line. The register cut stock area was done. I literally had nothing to do. So I walked up to my manager and who was talking to the assistant manager at the time,
Mhm.
and I said, "Hey, is there anything I can do for you right now? I got everything I need to caught up." So he said, "Well, you can go, sweep the dining room." I was like, "Okay, no problem." Went out and swept the dining room. Well, a customer came up to the manager, both managers, and we're talking with them, and it was a friend of ours who also worked at the Queen Street store, and she was talking with them, and I came over, and I didn't want to interrupt. I was being polite, so I was standing there, keeping an eye on the dining room, keeping an eye on the front, just make sure nobody came in. Every 30 seconds,
Right.
he looked up at me and went, "Didn't I tell you to go sweep the dining room?" And I went, "I did. I finished. I was just being patient, letting you guys finish your conversation to see what I can do next." He's like, "Well, why don't you just go back up front and just wipe something down while we have this conversation?" And I went, "Okay, fine, no problem." I have no issue. I turned around, and the asshole had the audacity to say, I mean, I'm only asking you to do one simple thing. That right there, and you know my temper.
Jesus.
You
Yeah.
know my temper. I literally turned around and went, no, you are not asking me to do anything. You are telling me to do something. There is a difference. When you ask somebody to do something, you say, hey, when you get a chance, can you please take care of this? When you get a chance, can you do this for me? Even if you don't even say please or thank you, or when you get a chance, saying, hey, I'm letting you know I need you to go up here and do this for me. I'd really appreciate it. Boom, right there. But when you say, I need you to do this, why don't you go do that? Well, why don't you go do that? That's not asking it. That's telling. There's a difference. And you need to learn that because people find that disrespectful and rude.
Oh yeah.
And I wasn't the only one who has gone off on that man. And thank God he's not working there because he was a very bad manager. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says.
No, no, no. I totally get it. When I have tasks for my people to do, I always ask them. I don't tell. Now, if we're super busy and
Yeah,
something comes up, I might really quickly just say, "Hey, if hey, I need you to go check coffee really quick. Blah blah blah,"
yeah,
or go wipe down the coffee bar. But
yeah.
if it's something not so urgent, it's like, "Hey, can you do fresh up the pizza?" Or, oh, pardon me, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Or go stock the vault a little bit, or front and face the store. We just got hit pretty hard. Let's make sure it's still presentable. But it's nothing like you're being just a dick to somebody. Now
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, there are some people where you've
yeah. I
asked
was about
them
to say
time and
that.
time again to do something, and you've given them ample instruction, and
Mm-hmm.
you've
Mm-hmm.
gone down everything being polite, and eventually it just does get to the point where you get a little frustrated, where you're like, look, I just need you to go do this and do it right.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I am totally down for a good ass trimming if it's deserved, but not when somebody who is literally not doing anything and is waiting to say, "Hey, what's going on? What can I do next?" And then you give them that kind of attitude. That's just unwarranted.
Well, there's a time
But
and place for everything. I've always been a firm
yeah,
believer that you praise in public and correct in private.
yeah. Well, the thing is, up there, their office area is pretty much on the dining room floor the way that it is. There's not really any privacy there. It's not like in some of the other stores where they actually have a back area that separates the kitchen area and the front. There's none of that. So it's all public and everyone can see that.
All right,
Luckily, we were busy at the time.
gotcha.
But the third story, and now this does not directly affect me, but it affected my mother, who
Okay.
I will let you know. You knew she was an assistant manager. She was once a GM, but stepped down because they needed more help with assistant managers, so she stepped down. She was the company yo-yo. She got bounced around everywhere. She pretty much worked at almost every store, I think, except for like 2 out of the 7 or 8 that we have now.
Okay.
And so she was dealing with a bunch of issues with the owner at the time, and she was working at the Queen Street store, which was also where I had moved to after I got my license and went there.
Hmm.
And we were working together, no issues. We always got along real well. I enjoyed the crew we worked with. Well, the owner had a big stick up his ass
Okay.
and had an issue with, I want to say, female managers. At least that's the way it seemed.
Okay.
And one day, a customer had a issue with something that my mom did, and even though my mom was polite about it and handled it the right way, the customer decided that, you know what, I don't like the way that she handled that, and so she wrote a scathing email to the owner of the company as well as to the district manager and everything. Okay,
Scathing.
or to the company email basically.
Okay.
And the day that my mom went in, and mind you, there was other issues that were going on between my mom and the owner, between her being threatened and stuff like that, and getting hands laid on her.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. You don't lay hands on a Marine's wife, I'll tell you that now. My mom even told him that, get your hands off of me. No one lays hands on me. And if you do it again, my husband will be personally paying you a visit. And he let go because my mom talked back to him. He didn't like that.
Right.
Well, after he saw this email, my mom was in the middle of a meeting with the district manager and the vice president of operations and her GM of the store that we both worked at. and they were
Okay.
sitting there having their meeting. The owner comes out from the back and sits down and starts ripping my mom a new one, basically saying, if I was a man, if I was blah 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 this, blah 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 that, I'd fire you and blah blah, and swearing up a storm and everything. And the district manager, the vice president of operations, my mom, and the general manager all sitting there like, going, "Are you fucking kidding me?" After he walked away, my mom basically looked at the district manager, looked at the vice president of operations, and went, "I'll save you the trouble." She pulled out her keys, put them on the table, and went, "I quit," and walked out that day.
Yeah, that's fucking
I come,
bullshit.
I, I come downstairs about, I want to say about quarter after 8. Okay, I was up around 7:30. Walked downstairs. My mom had like I said, that was a meeting. And I saw that she was in the living room, sitting on one of the chairs. I went, "You have a short meeting today?" She's like, "No, I quit." I went, "What?" "I quit." She explained the situation to me. I went, huh. And she went, "Well, David, I want you to still go to work." I'm like, "Oh, I have every intention on going to work.
Right.
I have every intention on going to work."
Right.
I went to work. My manager, the district manager, were all shocked that I even came in. And I told them, "Listen, I'm employed here. I'm employed to you, Jack, and I'm employed under you, Derek, because Jack is your employee as a general manager here. That's the truth right there. I work for you. I don't work for him. This is my job. I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit at this point." And my manager was saying, proud of me, thank me for that. But I told him one thing: "You keep him the fuck away from me. If I even see him near me, or if he even tries to talk to me, I will fucking rip him a new one and threaten to call the cops for all the bullshit that he put my mother through."
Yeah, that's
I
ridiculous.
had I went, "I don't give a shit." It was funny. I was in the back doing dishes, and my boss came back and saw the owner of the company unloading stuff out of one of the trucks and was getting ready to bring it in. He went, "Hey, David, why don't you go out in the dining room?" I quickly turned back, saw him, and went, "No problem, I'll go out in the dining room." No issue with that. Walked out into the dining room, did my stuff. And I was like, "You know what? I'm good." I just,
Yeah,
it just,
I totally agree with you that everybody in retail has their horror stories, and that's
yeah,
definitely terrible. I'm very sorry that happened to your mom, and that
yeah.
you worked. And to be honest, that I'm just shocked that you stuck with a company like that for so long. Um,
I mean, I'm going to be quite honest. Like, I technically have one more little minor horror story if you're willing to, if you got enough time to go through with it.
I think that might have to be saved for a different podcast because I got
Okay,
one more
okay.
question for you before we wrap up.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so again, save on to that, hang on to it, and I'm definitely going to
No
have you back
problem.
on the show, and we'll definitely be able to do that one next time. Um,
Like I said, I
so
got war stories, man.
no, that's perfectly fine. This is exactly what this podcast is for: is to give people a platform to vent their frustrations and just let the public
Yep.
know we're people too. So pretty much last question I got here for you is, seeing as that you no longer work in retail or food service, would you ever consider going back?
And
Not to that company necessarily, but like to that, to like retail or food service in general. Would you ever consider going back?
no, willingly, I would not go back, but I would go
Okay.
back if I didn't have a choice. So
So
it's a yes and no.
I gotcha. So no other options. You would go back to at least have some money to pay the bills, but given
Yep.
the option, you would refuse.
Yeah, I would never willingly go back to retail of any kind just because it's not worth that trouble. If I had to because I needed the money to pay bills, no problem. Just because I have a job or not doesn't mean the bills stop.
Right. Most definitely. No, that's completely understandable, David. And I'm very grateful for your honesty because there are some people that'll be like, no, even though it might not have been the best, it was blah blah blah. It could pay my bills, which I get that. There are some people, especially right now, with the whole coronavirus going on, where they were just a fruit stocker at a Kroger or a Giant or a
Hmm.
Weis or whatever, and now their job can be life or death. But
Yeah.
they still have to do it because they've got bills to pay, and
Yep.
it's scary and it's frustrating. So it's definitely, for me anyway, I think it's beneficial to be able to have this conversation with you and the people that I have on my shows to allow them to the space and the platform to let people know, yeah, people treat retailers like shit. It doesn't matter where
Yeah.
you are. There's that person, that always treats people who work retail like they're less than them, that they're beneath them. But, that person is making sure you have food right now. That person is making sure you have toilet paper to wipe your ass with. That
Damn
person
straight.
is the person there. Like for me at 7-Eleven, we're the ones that making sure that these construction workers that are out still having to work and do stuff during this time have a place to go pick up something to eat or to heat their food in the microwave or have a sanitary place to get some utensils or some soda.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
it's definitely an experience, and it's something I've said this before. I think everybody in this country should work retail at least 6 months to a year of their life to just know what it's like.
Oh yeah, I can agree to that wholeheartedly because it allows you to actually build some patience when you go into these establishments.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've had some people who like up here at Rutter's by my house. I would go in to get something to eat, and people who don't know that my mom works in the deli there, that don't know who I am, they're saying, "Oh, I do apologize that it's taken a while." It's like, listen, I understand. I used to
Mhm.
work in food retail. I understand. Don't worry about it. I don't live that far. I literally live right here. And then they put two and two together. It's like, oh, you're a Linda son. I'm like, yes, I'm Linda son. So don't worry about it. I understand. Take your time. It's totally cool. But then I see some people, flipping out on people, like, how long it's taking. I'm like,
Oh
dude,
yeah.
like, seriously, come on.
Well, they see you with a uniform and behind the counter, and they think they can automatically talk to you and treat you any way they want, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
just straight
that's not how
bullshit.
that works. Yeah.
Um,
Uh, no.
No. But anyway, David, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I
Yeah.
really appreciate, and again, I'm sorry that, I had you planned for a different day, but there were just a lot of different guests that weren't available later in the week, so I wanted to try to get them out of the way as best as I could. Not that, I
I'm,
didn't
I'm,
want you on, um,
no, you're good.
even though you are a giant pain in the ass.
I am a pain in the ass. I can't help that. I mean, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I've been stuck inside my house since, like, I want to say March 20th, since I went on high risk leave at work. So
Yeah, that's
I ain't going
ridiculous.
anywhere. So I got time to burn. I'm going stir crazy, dude. Please send help.
Oh yeah, and I feel that's how a lot of people are. So we're gonna be trying to,
uh,
like I said, we're gonna be putting one of these out every day. I've got a bunch more
okay.
guests set up for the rest of the week, and I have some probably into most of next week. But once I get through everybody, I'm gonna start bringing people back on. And as much as you want to be on and you want to keep telling stories and talking, hey, my podcast will be here to be your platform.
Hey,
Um,
I'm always up for talking about this stuff. I won't even mind having discussions about stuff like this, with other people at the same time. It's this stuff right here. It makes you think, and it makes you allows you to be able to see from different perspectives and get other people's understandings on the whole situation and their experiences. So I think this is definitely a good idea, and I think you're definitely doing a hell of a good job, even though you're not giving yourself that much credit, dude. You're
well,
doing a good job.
I appreciate that. And like I tell everybody, anytime I tell somebody I want to interview them, I know it's still in its intimacy stages. And, I don't have a soundproof room yet. And I don't have the best mic. I don't have the best webcam, but it's getting there. It's all baby steps. And, like right now, you're about to hear my kids walk through, and it's probably going to get really loud, but they're going to bed. But you know what? This is my life I lead, and if it's perfectly fine. I love my kids, and I'm not going to change their lifestyle just because I'm doing this. I'm going to do it in between as best I can. So I wanted to, like I said, just say thank you again for taking the time to be
Mm-hmm.
on the
No
podcast.
problem.
Give a big shout out to everybody who has been on the podcast, and a big shout out to everybody who's listening and subscribing and liking. It's a big help. All we
Mm-hmm.
can do is get better. That's the only thing we can
Yep.
do here is get better. And David,
Improvement.
exactly.
Yep. Well, the way I see it is always have room to improve, always have room to get better. There is always going forward, hopefully never going back.
No. And that's the greatest thing of all is just to keep moving forward. So, David, once again, I'd like to say thank you for being on the show. Everybody
Yep.
out there
No
listening, I
problem.
want to thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow we have another. We'll have this video. Will probably be up tomorrow between 3 and 4, depending on how long it takes to upload. Like I said, I'm putting one out every day, so just keep an eye out. Again, this was Retail Shenanigans episode 5. So thank you for all that have been here so far, and continue to like, subscribe, and keep stopping by and seeing us for the podcast. And hopefully one day soon you will be on. All right, David, have a great night.
You too, man. Have a good one.